with travel, and London black cab drivers are planning to bring the capital to a standstill in June in a protest against minicab service Uber. The Licensed Taxi Drivers Association are complaining that Uber's drivers are using a smartphone app to calculate fares, despite it being illegal for private vehicles to be fitted with taxi meters. TfL said it's not going to intervene because it doesn't think Uber's breaking the law. And joining me to discuss this is Steve McNamara, who's the General Secretary of the Licensed Taxi Drivers Association. First things first, Steve, can you tell us why you're planning this action?
Well, firstly, we're not demonstrating against Uber. Uber's just more competition to us. We're used to that. We've been competing with the minicab industry for 40 years. It's just another minicab service. We haven't got a problem with that. Unfortunately, a lot of the systems that are operating are contrary to the Private Hire Vehicles Acts. They're operating illegally in many aspects. And what we're complaining about, what we're demonstrating about, is the fact that TfL, the regulator, the licensing authority, and we've just seen Peter Hendy, are refusing to take any action.
I mean, what sort of action do you think they should be taking?
There's very clear offences under the Private Hire Vehicles Act. None of the other minicab firms in London would have been allowed to get away with it. The only reason that TfL are kowtowing to Uber is because Uber's a massive American conglomerate funded by Goldman Sachs, funded by Amazon, funded by Google, and TfL are frightened of them. They've pitched up here in London, they've driven a horse and cart through the rules and regulations, and TfL are too frightened to take them on.
But in a sense, aren't they doing the same thing as many other minicab companies that are out there who also use a form of pricing, if you will, that isn't necessarily via a smartphone, but it's still a form of pricing?
Well, firstly, it's not by a smartphone, it's by a specific device, it's by a meter. It's not a smartphone, it's not a smartphone app.
It's an app on a smartphone,
no, it's not.
Isn't it? Right.
No, it's not. The customer uses an app on the smartphone, the driver uses a specific device. It's not an app on a smartphone, it's a specific device that's programmed to be a meter. The TfL can't even get that right.
So what you're saying is that that specific meter that they're using is actually directly linked to the wheels or the way that...
No, it doesn't have to be. The Private Hire Vehicles Act doesn't require it to be attached to the vehicle. It says it has to be equipped with it. The device is purely and utterly a meter, and it's fitted into the car. When I say fitted, it's put on the dash, or it's stuck on the dash, or it's somewhere in the vehicle. It's not a smartphone app, it's a specific device that's made to measure time and distance. This is only one of the small problems with Uber. There's some serious problems with the way that they're allocating destinations to drivers. We say that the drivers taking the booking, the driver should have an operator's licence. It all gets a bit confusing. The simple point of the matter is there are thousands of minicab drivers in London and hundreds of minicab firms. None of them are operating in this manner, and all of the minicab firms and the private hire car industry agree with us totally that Uber is illegal. We've all told TfL that what Uber's doing is wrong, and TfL won't do anything about it because they're frightened of Uber.
But so you have got some qualms with Uber if they're doing all of these what you're saying are illegal activities.
Uber are not a threat to the taxi industry, they're a major threat to other minicab firms. As I said, we've been competing with the minicab industry for 40 years. Another boy on the block is not a problem to us. The problem that we've got is that we pay a licence fee to TfL, the minicab industry pay licence fees to TfL, we pay them to do a job. And what's happened, we've had these rules now for 10 or 15 years, and TfL, instead of enforcing them as they would have done with any other company, any of the big minicab firms that you care to name, and we all know the big firms, none of them are operating in this manner. All of them agree with us, all of them agree with us that TfL should do something about it. The question is, why are TfL kowtowing to this multi-million-pound American conglomerate that's come to London, you know, with lots of flash lawyers in red braces and lots of PR firms throwing millions and millions of pounds at it? They're here to make a profit. Uber is not some friendly society that's come to help London. They've come to London to make serious profit. Incidentally, none of that profit is going to be paid in tax in the UK. And what they've done, they've threatened TfL. They've turned up, here we are, we've got all this money, we've got all these lawyers. If you don't do what we say, we'll run all over you. And TfL have sort of cowered away from them and let them get away with it. The point is, we've got laws, let's enforce them. Let's have a level playing field for all. I haven't got a problem with Uber or any other minicab firm, but let's all work on the same rules.
Are there any plans for you to sit around the table with TfL and discuss these points?
We constantly meet with TfL. The problem with TfL is it's got many heads, and we meet different people all the time, and they're all saying different things. TfL are refusing to act. They've took a very well, they've took a wrong view on.
Well, they're saying it's not illegal. They're not refuting. They're saying there's nothing's wrong.
Well, the Private Hire Vehicles Act prohibits lots of things. They say a booking has to be taken through an operator. In other words, if you book a minicab, you book it through an operator, one of the big firms. Uber is like PayPal. You know, all it is, it takes a fee off the driver to provide a contact. It's an intermediary. Same setup. If you buy some goods from someone, you buy a frying pan from somewhere, you buy it from the supplier, you pay a percentage to PayPal, or the supplier does, for facilitating the contact. That's what Uber does. Uber doesn't take the booking's taken by the driver in the car. If it transpires at a later date there's some serious accident somewhere and someone's killed and it's a multi-million-pound lawsuit, almost inevitably the insurance companies are going to say, well, hold on, this booking wasn't taken legally, and they're not going to pay out. There's a risk of people not being insured. There's lots and lots of serious aspects with Uber about the way they work. If they want to come into London and compete with the rest of the minicab firms, fine. Just abide by the same rules as everybody else. Don't turn up threatening everyone with lawyers. And more to the point, TfL, on behalf of Londoners, the 60,000 minicab drivers, the 25,000 cab drivers, should make them comply to the same laws that we all have to.
Okay, thank you very much, Steve.